Hello, welcome to the Pursuit of Excellence with me, Anthony Beirudi. Need your help real quick. If you like the videos, hit the thumbs up button right below, and please subscribe to get access to our latest interviews. Hit the subscribe button right there. Also, we'd love to hear from you about our interviews. In the comment section, tell us who you want us to interview or what you thought about the whole thing. Without further ado, enjoy the interview.
Great.
Very excited today. We're joined again with Debbie Pearmain. Thank you very much for joining me, Debbie.
Great to be here as always.
Awesome. Yeah, I know. So, for me personally, I've seen some kids deteriorate. I've seen some people lose their minds, to be honest with you, start doing weird things, lock themselves in rooms, stay at home, not want to get out and do anything, not even go for a walk by themselves. So I think it's very important to have, somebody who's in the field actually doing this stuff come talk and give people another opportunity to get some more information, because I think it's important. So thanks for joining us. It's very exciting.
Absolutely. I mean, the truth is it's a really challenging time right now for everyone.
Totally. So one of the things I want to start with is let's talk about resiliency. How do we, I think a lot of people are lacking resiliency. So I want to, talk about that. Why is it important and how do we create it?
Yeah, awesome. Okay. I think the very first place is what is resiliency? Because so many people are throwing the word around. And resiliency is essentially a person's ability to adapt, to bounce back from what? From loss, from failure, from change, from disappointment, from challenge. And so if we understand the definition of resiliency, I think it helps us understand why we're struggling right now. Because you and I have talked many times about just our society and the way many people are raising our children is we're kind of bubble wrapping our kids. And because everything is so comfortable and in some ways easy, they haven't had the opportunity to develop resiliency skills. And now all of a sudden we find ourselves in a really difficult, challenging time. Well, of course, you're going to be struggling if your muscles are weak. So does that make sense? It's like I compare it to muscles in the body. You don't go run a marathon without training daily and exercising and using those muscles to get you to a level of strength where you would compete and do well. And with COVID, what's happened is all of our resiliency is being challenged. And even people who had some resiliency, it started to wear off as this pandemic has continued much longer than we have the capability and the capacity for. So what I'm seeing, like, as you know, I do one-on-one coaching with people around mental health, resiliency, performance, is there's people who didn't have strong resiliency going into the pandemic. Now they're trying to develop resiliency while they're in a challenge. That's hard.
Totally.
And then there's also people who maybe had some resiliency, but like it wore out in November, right? I mean, Gallup did a study in November, 92% of people surveyed were burnt out.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right? Back in July, it was closer to 65%. So as this, uncertainty and challenge and difficulty is persisting, people even with higher levels of resiliency like you and I, it's starting to diminish. We're getting weak. We're getting exhausted. It's like the end of the marathon. The other thing I'll say is we don't see the end. So, I mean, I've run half marathons. I can tell you that last kilometer, I'm grabbing the Gatorade shots at the station, the water. I'm like getting to the finish line, but I can see it. In this situation, we don't see it.
Yeah. No, I think leadership in general has done a terrible job of kind of outlining a path of how we're getting back to reality. I mean, we're not in reality right now. This is like fake land. There, we don't live in a real place, so it's kind of weird. But the one thing I want to talk about is, so like, let's say, I'm a high school kid, right? And I let's just talk specific. Let's say I'm a musician and I like getting together with the group and performing, right? And we haven't performed in a long time. Or I'm a basketball player, because I'm specifically talking to people like this, and they got to run around with masks on, which apparently nobody thinks is unhealthy. So for some reason, covering your face while running is a good idea. So that's something new that I never knew. And so we've got these kids running around with face masks covering, so they can't even breathe properly. So somebody's going to faint one of these days. So that'll be fun. And then they're not looking forward to something. So how can we give them something to look forward to? That's kind of my question to you. What can we replace instead of the actual event? Because obviously we don't have an actual event for them. How do we replace it with something? Create a new challenge, maybe find a new niche, a new measuring stick, find a way to measure something that we can actually show some improvement and some appreciation for what we're doing. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Okay. Great question. So I think number one, you just said there's something in emotional intelligence called reality testing. And that is literally being able to be in the reality of a situation and accept the reality. So, what I see with a lot of my clients is they're struggling with this reality and they keep longing for the past. And the truth of life today is we live in what I teach in leadership in companies is the VUCA world: volatile, uncertain, rapidly changing, and we need to adapt. So that's our reality. That's our new normal. And again, what are the skills people need to actually live in this reality? Not where we were a year ago. It's changed. Will it go back? I don't think so. So we need to let it go. Number one, emotional intelligence is letting go of the past. And I think it's really hard because, again, kids don't have strong emotional intelligence. That's one of the resiliency muscles. So it's what have you lost? And then grieve it. You have to grieve the loss of the past if you want to be able to accept your new normal or even hope for the future. So, how are we even teaching our kids to manage those difficult feelings that they have? What do kids do to help them manage their emotions? That's positive. What I see right away, again, they lack emotional intelligence coping skills. So then they turn to what? Social media, alcohol, drugs, sex, all shopping on Amazon, all these things because they're trying to help manage their difficult, uncomfortable feelings. Are we teaching our kids healthy coping strategies for their emotions like meditation, journaling, exercise, spending, time with friends? It's going to look different. Kids today might have to pick up a phone and call someone if they feel lonely. No one
You know
talks
what?
to
I
you
think that's a big
on
one.
the phone.
I think people need
No
to get
one
up.
calls anyone, right? It's like,
Call somebody. Call somebody. Let's have a conversation with somebody.
I say to my kids, call one person a day. They're like, nobody calls people, mom. And I'm like, so call your grandparents. Call your parents, like call someone and have a phone call with a real person or do a Zoom call with a friend or with a group of friends. I mean, you could watch a movie and have 5 people on a Zoom while you're all watching the same movie. It's not the same, but it's better than nothing. So we've got to let go of our uncomfortable, mad, sad, frustrated, angry feelings, disappointment. Yeah, talk therapy is really good. Coaching is really helpful. I'm even telling parents, get your kids these things on Amazon. They're called CBT journals, like cognitive behavior therapy journals. They're like, what the heck is that? I'm like, it's tools that are going to help get their heads around what is currently happening for them. Learn to express your emotion in healthy ways. Dancing, music, like whatever you do to get those emotions out. So that's number one, letting go, accepting the reality of the situation. And then I would say other resiliency skills would be things like your mindset. I just finished a great 6-week course on this book, which I'm suggesting like everyone gets this book because it's all about getting your head into a positive headspace. What you think is what creates your feelings, and how you feel is what creates your choices, your decisions, and your actions. So if you're in a negative headspace, the end result is negative. So, how do we get our heads into a positive headspace? I would say really trying to look at every situation as a gift and opportunity, which again, I know is a struggle. What is the gift and opportunity right now, in this moment, in this day, in this situation? Can you reframe? We know all the hard, challenging, negative parts of COVID. What are you learning? What are you becoming? How are you growing? How are you evolving? What's positive? So, I think I mentioned you before. One of the habits I started in COVID was before my feet hit the ground in the morning out of bed when I'm awake, I actually lie there and count on my fingers. What am I grateful for today? If I can count 5 things, I've started my day on a positive note.
So perspective is important, right? We got to keep perspective on the things we're working on, what's actually going right. There's usually a lot of things going right that we have going for us. If we start, being aware of our surroundings and that, we're doing all right. It's not as bad as we think it is. And, sometimes we think about the things we've lost instead of the things that we actually have, which I think is important. You got to think about all the good things that you have. What is going right? What is happening? What can I do? One of the things I'm telling kids, like, use this as an opportunity to separate yourself from the competition. Everything's competition, right? So, like, if you're in university, let's say you're playing on a sports team, double up on courses, get an extra course in there, get it done early so you can get your master's done while other people are still messing around. If you're in high school, like, if you're a high school player, some people are working on their game, some people aren't working on their game. If you put extra work in right now, it's not like you're busy doing something else. So if you put in extra work right now, you're going to actually come back when everybody else shows up. You're going to be a way better player. And the same thing for school, same thing for everything. It's all the same. So, I mean, realistically, if you can put in that extra time and stay motivated, you're going to see some positive results.
So, what you're talking about is positive reframe. So, what is the gift and opportunity? So, let's talk basketball. I totally get all the things that are frustrating, right? And not the same. 100% understand it. Don't want to deny it or negate it. What's the gift and opportunity? One of the things that comes to my mind is what an amazing opportunity to really strengthen some of those skills that were weak last season because there wasn't enough time. So, if it's your foul shot and you're a 7 out of 10, you have a gift and opportunity right now to become a 10 out of 10. If it's your rebounding, like, find something to focus on, to work on that's positive. And so another resiliency skill is vision. So often what I do with kids, with adults, is I say, let's vision, where do you want to be a week from now? How do you want to be feeling? How do you want to be showing up? What do you want to be doing? Picture it in your mind's eye. The brain loves images, and the brain loves positive images.
Totally.
And we've talked about this before. I'm like, get the girls into the gym and have them simply visualize themselves sinking their shots, boxing out, rebounding. If they can picture themselves doing it with accuracy and precision and perfection, the body is more likely to show up like that.
Totally.
That's the problem. That's the problem with replaying game tapes, is half the time what you end up watching is things that they didn't do well. And that actually reinforces in the brain not what you want to be reinforcing. Right? Like, we tend to highlight, oh, that play and you didn't do this and that was a mistake, instead of highlighting on the game tapes the good plays.
Yeah, it's a combination of both, right? You need to show the things that we need to improve on, and then you need to get them going. Like, hey, you did do quite a few things well, so be aware of that too, right? So, it wasn't all disaster, but we always want to sharpen up the pencil, right? So it's a double combo. But I mean, that's life. I mean, at the end of the day in life, you got to sharpen the pencil. You got to figure it out.
You get more of whatever you focus on, Anthony. So again, if you're feeling terrible, it's because you're thinking about it.
Mhm.
And the way to change it is to start focusing on good stuff, focus on the positives. And this is where I think things like coaching, counseling, journaling is really helpful because it shows you what you're focusing on. A lot of the times we don't have the self awareness. We just know how we feel, but we don't really know or understand why. So, by talking it out to someone outside of you, they can hear you and put it back to you. So now all of a sudden, you've got a different perspective, you've got a different self awareness. I'd say that's one of the biggest takeaways is if people are struggling, don't keep to yourself. All that does is intensify the struggle. Talk to someone, reach out to someone, get outside of yourself. That will help you regain some perspective. One of the very first things that goes in our mind is perspective when we're highly emotional, right? When we're stressed, when we're anxious, when we're sad, when we're mad, when we're frustrated. That's going on in our amygdala at the back of the brain. And this part, which we need, right? The prefrontal cortex kind of shuts down. How do we regain perspective? Through activities like talking, journaling, right? And getting outside of ourselves. So that's another really important resiliency skill. I would say also goal setting, like you said. So find something you want to improve. What do you want more of? Set
Well,
some.
you know what? And it's not necessarily even have to be related to what you're working on currently. Like it could be something completely different. Like you could just be like, you know what? I'm going to start running. I'm going to run a mile, even if it's a mile. You know, I don't need to run 17 miles like some of these people I see on my social media, but
Somewhere.
I could use a mile. You know, or find a new project that'll keep you busy and keep you going, get you engaged. You know, I think there's a bunch of different things, but we need to find something to keep us going and engaged. I think you need to be, I think engagement's a big deal right now. If you can find something that gets you blood flowing a little bit, gets you excited, read a book, like there's a whole bunch of different things.
So you've said a lot of really good suggestions. And again, that's why it's helpful to talk to someone else.
Yeah.
Like, what have you been doing to stay engaged? And then you hear ideas, right? What
Yeah.
have you been doing to stay motivated? I mean, one of my girlfriends gave me this idea, which I passed on to a number of parents who were like, my child is super isolated. They're really lonely. They don't come out of their room. And this one friend of mine was saying that her daughter, organized a Zoom thing. I gave the example of the movie, right? 5 friends on Zoom. They all hit play at the same time. So it was kind of like they were hanging out in the living room together watching the movie. And they were bantering and chatting and eating their popcorn. And again, it's not the same, but that's adapting to this new reality. I heard another mom tell me that they had one of their kids did like a boot camp online, but did it over Zoom again with friends. So it's looking at what were the things you did before that used to bring you joy? What were the things that kept you engaged, motivated, grounded? How do we now reframe that in the reality today? So let's not just be sitting here for 10 months waiting for things to go back to the way they used to be. What if they never do? We need to be adapting everything we used to do to the world we live in today. So let's use, for example, I've got a book club. Okay, great. Now that's an easy adaptation. So we used to meet in person once a month. Now we meet on Zoom. We didn't just give up the book club because of COVID, right? I've got a women's group I'm a part of. Same thing. We're meeting over Zoom. Do we like Zoom? Are we getting tired of Zoom? We are tired of Zoom. However, what's the alternative? Sometimes I even just put AirPods on and go for a run, and I'll call a friend, and it's like we're running together, even though we're not. So there's an idea, right? We don't have to be alone. So I would say that's another challenge, as you and I have talked about. So many kids don't really have hobbies. They were overscheduled, overstructured before. What's the gift and opportunity in that? Now they can learn some hobbies. Now they can learn hobbies because guess what? At some point in their life, they'll retire and they'll need hobbies, right?
Totally.
So this is where they have an opportunity to learn more about who they are and what makes them tick and what brings them joy and discover new things about themselves. And I feel like parents can really help with that. So can coaches, so can teachers, right? And so can counselors. So again, I think you keep hearing me saying, don't stay stuck and feeling really bad alone. There's a need for support systems. There's a lot of research out there that says the degree of your resiliency is totally connected to who you believe has your back during difficult times. So, even just to contemplate who's in your support system, who are the people in your life that have your back?
Well, you know what? I think we forget that sometimes. Like you got to actually think about it. Like who actually has my back? Who's there to help? And then say thank you every once in a while. Go be engaged. Be a part of it. I think these are all huge things. So, I think as we get through this over time, more positive things happen, and we're gonna get there. It's just it's taken a little longer than we would have liked, and it's not things aren't happening as quickly as we would like them to, but at some point we will eventually get there. So we just got to keep going. I think keep trekking, like keep your feet moving, man. Like you just got to keep grinding. What are you doing? Find something to do with your time. What's
One
going on?
day, one thing a day. So let's just like here we go. So let's pretend our vision is to be super strong and resilient so that regardless of what life throws at us, COVID, divorce, failure,
A lot of divorce, by the way.
challenge, right? Loss, we will thrive. Okay, imagine that's our vision. So we want to thrive in the face of all of this. How do we get there? So if we know that's our vision, right? We want to have energy, we want to be happy, we want to be peaceful, we want to feel strong and confident. That's our vision. So what are the goals to get there? What are the steps to get there? Well, number one, we got to have a strong support system. So, who's in your support system? Number two, we got to set some goals. So, what are the muscles that are weak? Is it positivity? Is it emotional intelligence? Is it we're terrible at goal setting? Like those are the key resiliency skills. What about problem solving? That's a really important resiliency skill. The reason people stay stuck is because they're not good at problem solving. So, do we even recognize the skills that are weak? That's the first step. Which of those skills are weak for you? Positivity, emotional intelligence, goal setting, problem solving, support systems. Do an inventory. What are strong? What are weak? And then once you see what's weak, now set some goals to improve that area, whether it's through reading books, watching TED Talks, seeing a counselor, getting some coaching, reaching out for help. Engage someone to help you get unstuck. Don't stay stuck. That is like my number one piece of advice. If parents are concerned because they see their child is stuck, they need to be a bridge to facilitate them getting the help and support that they need. That's their job, right? Not to diagnose, not to be the counselor, not to be the psychiatrist, be the bridge.
Totally.
Help them get unstuck.
Totally.
If anyone, has questions, I'm happy for them to reach out to me. As I mentioned to you, I had some people reach out to me after our last podcast. I don't have all the answers, but I've got resources and I can point people in directions.
What's your contact info there, Deb?
So yeah, Debbie Pearmain at yahoo.com, One Stop HR. And that's the other thing, Anthony, is there are lots of resources available. I think part of the challenge is people don't know where to go or who to ask. So I'm just going to say this on the North Shore, which is where I live, there's a place called Foundry. It is a drop-in center for any youth to go in It's a one-stop shop. They've got doctors, psychiatrists, counselors, support groups. Now, again, is that cool to like show up at this place and say, hi, and my name's Debbie, I need some help? No. But for parents to know that that place is available, can you be a bridge? Can you
Not
make a call? Can you set up an appointment? Can you drive them there? Can a friend do it? I mean, that's the one thing I think is so cool with this generation is I feel like kids today are way more aware of mental health because they're teaching it in schools and they know to recognize signs in their friends and they're not afraid to ask for help. So if you were my friend in high school and I saw you struggling, I'd go talk to the school counselor, or I'd go talk to one of the EAs that I had a relationship with, or a coach, or someone in choices. You know, there's so many options. There's youth workers, and be a bridge.
totally. Well, one of the things, like I I think there's something that normal people can do to help, but I think sometimes you need to go see a professional. Like I think that's a big one. Like by the way, if you want to talk about a growth industry in the world right now, I'd say counseling. If you want a job immediately after finishing something, become a counselor. You'll have a job in 15 seconds. The You could start up your own
industry. It's a
yeah.
billion-dollar industry.
Oh, truly, yeah, it's going to go through the roof. But no, I think sometimes you need a professional help. I've seen some people. I've been talking to them. They need professional help. I've gotten professional help in the past.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're going through something that's a little difficult. You need somebody that knows how to deal with this stuff. And I think it's important to remind people of that too. But anyway, listen, thank you so much, Debbie. I appreciate the thoughtfulness and coming out and giving people some options, some things to think about. And I think some people are going to get some positive things out of this. And so I think it's fantastic.
Thank you. I do want to end, you just triggered me to think of this. It is hard to get help. So I'm not going to pretend it's easy. I've heard from parents who have said, once I tried to be a bridge, or I made a call and there's like a 2-month wait list or a 3-month wait list. There's a lot of options. So yes, there's psychiatrists. You're probably going to have a 2 to 3 month wait list. Yes, there's counselors. You're probably going to have a month or two wait list. There are clinical counselors. There are youth.
Make the appointment.
Well, there's varieties of help, and sometimes I always say, like, you don't need an elephant in one bite. So what's one step that's positive? There, you could talk to a youth worker. I do coaching, and I feel like it doesn't take the place of counseling, but it's a bridge. Sometimes people need just 1 or 2 coaching sessions in the meantime while they're waiting to see an actual counselor or a psychiatrist. So the other thing I want to say is it's gender specific. The research shows that women are way more likely to tell a friend, make a call, ask for help. So I want to just do a shout out to the boys and the men to say coaching is way more comfortable for a lot of people. So why not start there? Right? That might be that comfortable first step for you. And then also through your parents, there's like employee assistance programs. I do a ton of work in companies around mental health. And a lot of companies, because of the pandemic, have upped their employee assistance program benefits, right? And other employer benefits. So don't hesitate to also talk to a parent because they could access services for you through EAP, which don't have 2 to 3 month wait lists. I think their wait lists are more like 1 to 2 weeks. So there are lots of options. And that's where I wanted to end today, is just to say, choose the option that fits best for you. Again, not just staying stuck, right? How do we move you forward one step at a time?
Totally.
So thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's always great to chat with you.
That was awesome. Well, thanks so much.
Okay, thanks, Anthony. Have a good one.
Take care.